Hello, I'm Martin from Ashbys, and today I would like to show you our 400 PSI enforcer with built-in tank heater, and the temperature's adjustable. So this video is designed for people who are not collecting machines but having them delivered on a pallet. So what I'm going to show you in this video is what I would show you if you were coming in person and having a handover with instruction. And I'm being ably assisted by Alana. Say hello, Alana.
Hello.
Hi. And yeah, so we are looking at really what is our, effectively our standard machine. It is a 400 PSI enforcer, and it's got 2 vacuum motors in it, which are set up in series. It's got a standard, what we call a standard performance, plus a number 2 vacuum motor being a standard heavy duty vacuum motor, and they pull through each other, turboing each other up. Give you a vacuum which is suitable for use up to about 200 foot, which I think is about 61 meters, I think it is. So like loads more length of hose than you would really actually use. Most people use a maximum of 100, some people use about 150, but it's very, very rare. Most people are using 75. So yeah, like I say, this is for guys and girls that are having it delivered on a pallet. Yeah, let's have a little look at the machine. I can show you around the machine, but there's other videos that do all that we do. But yeah, I'll do that actually as I show you the machine naturally. So the first thing that you want to do with the machine is plug it into the wall. And if we come over here, Alana, you can see it's got 2 power leads. And yeah, a white one and a black one. Now the white one powers your pump and your vacuum motor. And the black one powers your built-in 3 kilowatt tank heater. You've got to have enough water in your solution tank. We can come up now, Alana, and have a little peek inside this solution tank, which is here. Yeah, you've got to have enough water in there to cover that low-level safety white polypropylene float switch. Can you see that where my finger is? That one there. And that basically switches the heater on when there's enough water in, and it'll switch it off as the water level drops. So yeah. Let's grab a bucket. Where's my bucket? Here it is. And I'll show you. It's quite nice. You've got a little recess here for these buckets, which are widely available. We sell them on our site, and other people sell them as well. You see, it's got a nice little recess almost for the spout to lock into. And it's also got a funnel design to this area here, if you have a look, Alana. So it's hard for you to even spill the water. Cough through my video. What's going on? Hope that cough is not no, I can't even say it. Right, anyway, so yeah, this is a funnel design to this area here, so you can, it's very hard for you to spill the water. It's also nice and wide. If you have a look, you know, you can pour it in very, very quickly. The thing is, what I used to dislike about other machines that I've used in the past is that, you know, you'd be out on a job, you'd be absolutely knackered, you know, it'd be 6 o'clock, you should have finished at 4 o'clock, and you'd be pouring water in, and it wouldn't, you know, half of it would go in the machine and half of it would go down the sides. So when we designed this machine, we had that in mind. So we made it nice and wide, we made it nice and long, and we gave it a funnel design, and we even put a little area there where the spout of your bucket can kind of get caught in, so that it helps you to aim and not spill it everywhere. Like I say, if you've got enough water to make your heater come on, you've got to have enough water to cover that low-level safety cutoff, and also obviously have it plugged in and switched on electrically at the wall. Your heater switch is here. If you can just come round and show that, it's called tank heater, and we can just switch that on. Okay, and you also have an adjustable thermostat, so you basically twist that and it goes up to 60 degrees on this 400 PSI model, so we may as well crank it right up. That's a heating in progress light, and when it's achieved the temperature that you set on here, so at the moment it's at 40 degrees, it will go off, and yeah, when you turn it, when it's not actually up to that temperature, it will come on. So that's a good way for you to gauge what the water temperature is in your tank. Moving on, we have a mains switch, which is here. This is the green one, and when we turn that on, it starts a cooling fan, which is positioned, and if you just move your camera around here, Alana, That's your cooling fan on the side, and that's blowing air out because it's shower proof, so it's blowing air away, not sucking it in, and it's being sucked in from underneath the machine via a couple of cooling fans and some big holes in effect, which keep all your electronic components nice and cool and dry, which is how they want to be. This is your water pump. When we switch that on, it starts your 400 psi pump, and these are your vacuum motors, vacuum motor number 1 and vacuum motor number 2. When you switch your vacuum motors on, you want to switch on vacuum motor number 2 first and then switch on number 1. And when you switch it off, you want 1 off first and then number 2. And that's because the vacuum motors pull through each other. So number 2 on first and then number 1. Number 1 off first and then number 2. Okay, you got that, Alana?
Yeah.
She's nodding. Yeah, that's good. Okay, they are your switches there. And let's get that water off. Yeah, moving around here, you've got a pressure gauge, and that shows your working pressure when I turn the pump on. So I'll just do that and show you actually. Let's turn the pump on. There we go. And as you can see, you've got 400 psi there. This is a pressure regulator, and this is a flow rate control. As I open the pressure regulator, it basically reduces the amount of water that's coming out. Well, it maintains the amount of water that's coming out, give or take, but reduces the pressure. A nicer way that in our industry we want to really reduce it down when we're working on upholstery, because 400 psi is right for almost every carpet. You wouldn't want to go above it. I wouldn't recommend going much above it because you end up jetting water into the backing of the carpet. So even if you're using a 600 or an 800, you end up turning them down. Reduce it down to about 120 with using the flow rate control, which is here. It's quick and easy to reduce it down to about 120 for doing upholstery. So that's how you reduce it, and that's your pressure gauge showing you what pressure you're achieving. Okay, let's switch that pump off. Okay, next thing we want to do is connect up our hoses. So let's grab a set of hose. Actually, I'll leave that at an angle because then it's well lit for you if you go around the back and show anything, Alana. These are your hoses. I'm going to be using a 1.5 inch vacuum hose with a 2-inch cuff. That's called a thread. That's the thread part of the cuff that screws onto the hose. And that part there is the slip. And the slip goes onto your vacuum spigot, which is there on your recovery tank. This is where all your dirty water ends up, by the way. We'll come back to it in a minute. It ends up in your recovery tank. And the machine is well baffled. That's a baffle. So it deflects the water very nicely away from where your air is being... let's show you actually. This is your high level safety shut-off. That's your float cage there. And yeah, all your vacuum motors are pulling air through that cage. The float ball, so what happens is your water ends up in there, it rises, and then the change in air pressure is enough to make that float ball jump up and mechanically seal off your vacuums. So you'll be getting no vacuum. The vacuums will still be running, but they'll sound high pitch and under load. At that point, you switch off your vacuums and you empty into a dirty water bucket. Let's connect up the hoses. Okay, so with these cuffs, they're all sort of semi-inflexible, and what you want to do is warm them up, little hack here, warm them up in your clean water tank for about 10 seconds. So I'm just putting that in the hot water. Just putting the end of it in there just to soften it so that they don't split or anything nasty like that, especially if you're taking them out of a cold van. They can be quite rigid. So if we warm them up for 10 seconds or so, you've made them nice and soft. Can you see that? As opposed to how it was before. And then I always check the integrity of the cuff by just making sure that it's kind of screwed, not kind of, that it is screwed on to this hose. Because sometimes just during use they can come unscrewed. And also be aware that you're pushing them on, you're not screwing them on. So when you've made sure that that hose is kind of seated up in there where it need be, can you just see that? Yeah. So it's screwed in all the way, just push it on like so. Also, when you're screwing the cuff on, if you do have to screw it on, don't over tighten it, just make sure it's seated up against it. And you can see that went on nice and easily. And this is your your male connector, male brass connector, self-sealing so it doesn't drip all over customers' hard floors and carpeted areas and stuff like that, but mainly hard floors as you're walking along. Back in the olden days, these used to be open. And you'd wind your hose up and carry it. I don't even think we really had hose bags back then. And the water that was residual within the hose would be dripping out on the customer's floor. It was very annoying. So you had to make sure, sometimes you connect them together or whatever. But yeah, these are all the modern connectors now self-seal. So they have like a spring-loaded nipple design there, which stops it dripping out. So what we're going to do, we're going to put this into the female connector here, pull back the outer sleeve, push that in like so, and it just clips forward. You can oil that up every now and again as well, just to make sure that that stays nice and supple. And yeah, I'm going to shut my flow rate control as well. So I'm going to get 400 when I turn the machine on. Sorry, there we go. Shutting that, by the way, is clockwise. So all the way clockwise is full pressure. As you open it, it reduces down the pressure. And the same is true for your pressure regulator. This is a pressure regulator. We touched on it earlier, and it unscrews anti-clockwise, and most of the time you're going to leave that screwed in. Okay, the only time we're really going to play with that is if you turn the pump on and you've got enough water in but it's not pressurizing. So by that I mean that the gauge is fluctuating, going up and down, or it just simply isn't pressurizing. It could be then that you've got an airlock. So if you have an airlock with the pump running, you need to open up your flow rate control a couple of turns, open up the pressure regulator a couple of turns, I beg your pardon, open up the flow rate control a couple of turns, and just let the pump run for about 60 seconds maximum, and close them back down clockwise all the way down, and you'll notice that that pressure gauge with the pump running, it's not running at the moment, would then go around and pressurize, should solve your problem. That's if you've got an airlock. And that's why we leave that pressure regulator out so you can adjust it. Like I say, if you're turning it down to work on upholstery, use the flow rate control, which is, sorry to keep going up and down, is that one. So that's the one that you use if you're reducing it down to work on upholstery. Don't really touch that one, leave it wound all the way in clockwise, only play around with it. It's only you need to do that if you find that you've got that problem where you've got an airlock in your machine and you're looking to bleed it out. Okie dokie. Right, now we've attached our hoses, I'm just going to lay them out so they're out of the way. So I'm just going to lay them over here. We're not going to really, are we going to use them yet? What I'm going to do as well, I think I'm going to talk you through some other items which we use when we're carpet cleaning, because if you are getting a full package on a pallet, it's going to be that you're needing to see some of these other items. So we really need to talk through the process of carpet cleaning. So the first thing that you really want to do is dry vacuum. So you can do that with any commercial dry vacuum, or if you're looking to harness the power of your carpet cleaning machine, your Enforcer, you can use a dry vacuum attachment, which is this guy here. Let's just turn this light around so we've got a little bit of light on it. Can you see that all right? Okay, so this is a dry vacuum attachment. With your carpet cleaning machine, you can't pre-dry vacuum normally, because there's no bags or filters in it. You've only got that cage I showed you earlier with the float ball in, and then obviously in a vacuum cleaner you've got different ways of making sure that that dirt doesn't go into your vacuums, directly into your vacuum motors. In a carpet cleaning machine you haven't got that, because it's designed for wet extraction. It's designed for water use, not air particles basically. So what we do, we have an air turbo head where you basically have that spinning around very quickly, and you also have the important part, which is a water filter. I beg your pardon, not a dry anything, a water filter. Now this sprays a wall of water across this vacuum slot here. So it has, your water hose goes on here, and I'll connect this up actually, let's show you. Your water hose connects here like so. This is your female connector, pushes on there. And your vacuum hose connects here, like so. And what you're in fact doing when you turn the machine on is that you're spraying water. So water's coming along here. This is your water hose. You open up this valve. It's at the moment in 9 o'clock position. There's only 2 positions really for it, 9 o'clock or 3 o'clock. That's all the way open, that's all the way closed. So you want to open that up so you get a nice flow of water coming through this tube here. Okay, and what you've got here is a jet that sprays a wall of water across this vacuum slot. So it creates like a waterfall effect. And all your dry dirt and pet hair and people hair is kind of mixing with your water and being returned to the machine's recovery tank as dirty water. So it allows you to harness the power of your enforcer, which is many times more powerful than any commercial vacuum cleaner, give or take, I think. But you know, there's not many commercial vacuum cleaners that can run 200 foot of hose. So you've got a very powerful way of dry vacuuming without the need to bring in a dry vacuum machine. And you can use your carpet cleaning machine, which also looks very impressive to the customer, and get pretty much 100% filtration because you're spraying it through, you're sucking it through rather a spray of water, which is just turning it into dirty water basically. So we can kind of try that now. We can show you how that works. I'm going to go and switch the machine on. I'll do that now. Let me just turn this around. If you can move that light back, that's great. There we go. Okay, so I'm just going to move around here. And we're going to switch the machine on, but before we do that, I'm going to show you a silencer for those of you who've got them. Very, very good. These don't have any, don't need any electricity or anything like that. They just simply hang on the top handle here, which is a cable wind, and it goes onto the exhaust of the machine here. And I'll show you the sound level difference that you get. Turn 2 on. So yeah, as you can see, it quietens it right down. I'll just turn the water pump on. Oh, sorry, yep, switch the water pump on. And if we move over here to where our dry vacuum attachment is, you can see we've got if I switch that on, some water going through there, which is filtering all the dry dirt. And obviously our turbo head is spinning there. Yeah, it just gives us the ability to quickly and easily dry vacuum. I can show you it on, here we are, some bits there. Helps to rejuvenate the pile and basically removes all the dry dust and pet hair. Yeah, and that's the dry vac attachment. A good dry vacuum will remove up to 80% of the soilage that you can remove. So all that you're left with is the stuck-on soilage that we're going to loosen with an alkaline pre-spray. So it's good to get rid of the, don't fall over. It's good to get rid of all your pet hair, all your dry dirt, so you're not making mud pies, you're literally dealing with the dirt just stuck on the fibres, which we're going to loosen and rinse away with this machine. We're going to loosen it up with a pre-spray. So the next stage that you've dry vacuumed, stage 2 is that you pre-spray. So let's move over here. There's a couple of ways of pre-spraying. You can use one of these sprayers, which is called an XI6 pump-up sprayer. They're, an inexpensive way of applying pre-spray. You mix it up in here. They have chemical-resistant seals. They have a choice of 3 jets. These are jets here. That blue one is for applying pre-spray. It's an O3 in size. It comes with an O2, which is for putting down things like anti-static, flame retardant, and stuff like that. and an O1, which is for putting down stain protector. So like, your stain guard type treatments, which, stop stains from penetrating the carpet. So yeah, I've got it set up at the moment as a pre-sprayer. But a great way to apply pre-spray hot is to use a Hydroforce Revolution. Experience the revolution of the Hydroforce Revolution. That's what it says in the video. But yeah, it's a great machine to have. I say machine, it's a great sprayer to have. Basically, you put your neat, undiluted pre-spray mixture in there, and again, you connect it to your water hose, and you have a dilution rate valve rather. Anything between as strong as a 1 to 4, or neat by the looks of it as well, so 1 to 4, all the way down to a 1 to 64 dilution is catered for. In our industry, we're going to kind of be using it really at a 1 to 10, maybe 1 to 8 if we're going strong, or down to maybe a 1 to 25 on a carpet that's hard, lightly soiled. But it's a great way of putting your pre-spray down without having to re-dilute it and switch between jobs without changing the mixture that's in your pump-up sprayer. So if we got to a house where it's very, very lightly soiled, we're just doing a light refresh clean, we might turn it down to maybe a 1 to 20, 1 to 25 mixture, something like that. If we got to a restaurant or a pub carpet where it's thick with grease, we can dial it up to as strong as a 1 to 8. And we're not over wetting, we're just putting down a stronger dilution, and we're also putting it down hot, which makes all the difference as well, because heat cleans, and you cannot put hot water in a plastic sprayer. That's another good thing to remember as well. If we come and have a look at this sprayer, don't put hot water in this sprayer because it softens all your upstand. It's called an upstand? No, pump section rather, inside one of these, especially when you get a bit of temperature combined with the pressure of it being pumped up. So it will last, but only for a few goes, and then you'll find that it just doesn't pump up properly. So don't put any hot water in our plastic sprayer. But that one, because it siphons the water in at the dilution that you set on here, you can work nice and hot, and you can work at the correct dilution all the time. So they're a very good buy if it's within your budget or if it's part of your package. That's how you use it. Pre-sprays that you would want to use, just have a look. Yeah, so you've got anti-grease with a nice dent in it here. That's always a good look. This is very good for breaking down grease and food-based greases that you'd find in carpet, and also very good for breaking down draft marks around the edges of the carpet. So you can mix it up in a bucket, a nice clean bucket, maybe put that much in the bottom of the bucket to sort of that much water, nice and warm. Use something like a long-handled edging brush in the bucket and just scrub along those draft marks. For people who don't know what draft marks is where you've got dust underneath the floor. So you only get it when there's floorboards involved, and it blows up, and the gap between the skirting board and the floorboard, where the carpet abuts it, the fibres, a bit like this, the fibres trap as it goes up and it blows through the fibres, it traps the fine particles of dirt, makes a black line around the edges of carpet. Did you know that, Alana?
I did not.
You did not know that. Shame on you. Well, now you know. What's a draft mark?
Where the particles get stuck on the fine bits where it gets blown up.
That's it. And what removes draft marks?
Anti-grease.
Yeah, anti-grease. That's right. Yeah. So not only does it break down the traffic lanes that you get, maybe from kitchen doorways and just general grease, and to be honest, it's a high surfactant, so it breaks down a lot of just general dirt as well. But it's a good additive for any pre-spray mixture. Okay, you can sort of boost it by using anti-grease. An everyday pre-spray, which is heavy duty and high performance and well priced, is Supreme Pre-Spotter. So it has a high pH, good on most carpets that will stomach a high pH, which is pretty much all of them really, as long as you haven't got a live colour, which is rare. So this has a pH value of 11.5, and very good general purpose pre-sprayer to put in your pre-spray to put in your pre-sprayer. I'll put that down there. So we've got Anti-Grease and Supreme Pre-Spotter. They're your pre-spray agents that go down, and you can apply them with your XI6 sprayer or your Hydroforce Revolution. Now, so we've dry vacuumed, there we go, dry vacuumed, and we've pre-sprayed, and the next thing we want to do is agitate in that pre-spray, and we can do that using one of two things. So we can do that with, and I'll just move over here, we're going to go round to this bit of carpet here, Alana. You can agitate the pre-spray with an 18-inch carpet pile brush, which you can see I've been using earlier to agitate some pre-spray. It flicks up all the dirt there. But yeah, that can scrub in your pre-spray, helps to rejuvenate the pile, make it really, really effective when you massage it in. To be honest, not many people use this for doing agitation of pre-spray. They would tend to use it to groom the pile at the end of the job to remove tool marks, but you can use it. Let me just move this out of the way so we don't get too cluttered. There we go. And yeah, obviously you put your pre-spray down and then you can just agitate it in. Certainly going to keep you fit. So that's a manual way to agitate in your pre-spray. And when you've done that on a couple of jobs, you'll then realise that spending a few £100 on something like a Sebo Duo is the way to go, really. This is a Sebo Duo. It's a CRB machine, a contra-rotating brush machine, which means it's an electrically powered machine with two brushes, and one rotates that way in on itself and the other one rotates the other way in on itself as well, and it kind of floats over the pile of the carpet and massages in that pre-spray to make it very, very effective, but also it rejuvenates the pile to a degree as well, which is nice when you've got downtrodden sort of walkways, or you've got that area in front of the sofa where people put their feet, so it helps to rejuvenate it. Just going to plug this in, like so. These are available on our website as well. We sell lots and lots of these. So yeah, it's quite hard to push forward without the power on. Got a bit of resistance there, but the moment you turn that on, it just floats over the carpet and basically massages in your pre-spray. Helps to rejuvenate pile and helps to get you fat, because it's a lot less effort than manually scrubbing it in with a brush, which will keep you super duper fit. So if you're looking to pile on the pounds, get yourself a Sebo Duo, because it's the relaxed way to agitate in your pre-spray. There we go. That's the way to pile on the pounds if you're looking to bulk up. Right, okay, so now we've dry vacuumed, we've pre-sprayed and we've agitated, and the next thing we want to do is use this machine to rinse and extract away that loosened soilage, that we've loosened up with our alkaline pre-sprays. So in the machine, when we fill it, we want to fill with a very clean bucket, one that we've never used for dirty water, okay? And the reason that we want to do that is because inside this 400 psi machine, we have a metal-headed pump. And if we move over here, Alana, I'm just going to come around here to next to the enforcer sign. Look, we've got a pump with a metal head, and basically that has a stainless steel piston that goes backwards and forwards in it, and an aluminium head. Now, all metal-headed pumps work in the same way. They basically have, let's move the light over here we go. They basically have that stainless steel piston going backwards and forwards in the head, and if you introduce any grit or undissolved powder, so I'd always use a liquid in your machine, if you introduce any grit or undissolved powder, it will start to scratch away and erode that aluminium head. If you imagine introducing that same sediment into your petrol, for example, where your pistons are going backwards and forwards. You've got a piston-driven pump head there. You introduce any contaminant, it scratches away at your pump head, and that's most likely the most expensive part of your machine. I know that a 400 psi pump is about £500 at the time of shooting this video, plus VAT, plus fitting. So you always want to make sure that you respect it by filling it with a very clean bucket and only using a small amount of high quality liquid detergent. You want everything down to clean really in your pre-spray, and everything down to fix the colour and brighten and freshen down as a post-spray, a finishing spray. So in your machine you want to keep it as close to fresh water as possible. So like I say, always fill with a clean bucket, one that you've never used for emptying. Okay, great. So yeah, let's move back to the machine. So we always fill it with a nice clean bucket. We use a very small amount of liquid detergent. You're going to hate me, Alana, but I want to grab a bottle. I'll tell you what, you stay where you are and I'll go and get the liquid detergent we'll put in the machine. Here we go. So right, there's two liquid detergents you'll want to put in the machine really. Let's close that down again. This one, which is a premium extraction liquid. That dilutes 340 to 1, so you kind of want to use just a capful really, just one cap to a full tank, because you want to keep what is in there as close to fresh water as possible, remember. That is a strong detergent for the extraction of your pre-sprays. It has a high degree of water softeners and it won't powder out, which means it won't really dry to a powder. So it's very good for guys as well if you've got a heat exchanger or if you're in hard water areas. It's just, we developed it when we started using metal-headed pumps with built-in heat exchangers to avoid getting lots of scale where you don't want to have scale. So that's a great thing to have, but it is in fact an extraction detergent. And its brother is Lana, you didn't tell me the label was around the wrong way.
Oh, I thought you did it on purpose.
No, I didn't do it. Yes, I did it on purpose. Liquid extraction cleaner. Now this one is the one that you will use. It's more neutral. I think it's about pH 9 instead of 11.5. Yeah, pH 9. There we go. Oh, I beg your pardon. It's not 11.5. It's 10.7 on that one. Okay, so that's more pH neutral, closer to 7. And so it's good for rugs. Delicate carpet, but not many carpets are that delicate that you need to worry too much about that level of change in pH value. And it's also for upholstery as well. So this dilutes 100 to 1, so you kind of want about 3 capfuls of this to a full tank, okay? Yeah, like I say, the aim of the game is to keep this as close to fresh water, what is in your solution tank. You're not trying to make it full of chemicals and bits and pieces. You want to use it to rinse away the loosened soilage and leave the carpet residue free, free of residue, the same way that you would do if you were having a shower, where you soap up, that's your pre-scrub, and then you rinse off, ready to apply your finishing treatments. Okay, or even if you're doing your car, you clean the car, you rinse it off, and then you put on your polishes, your finish. Same thing when you're cleaning anything, your dishes at home, your clothes in the washing machine, and your carpets and upholstery. So you put down your pre-sprays, you rinse them away, leaving it residue free, and you apply any finishing products. And by finishing products I mean, and I'll show you them later, things to fix the colour and brighten, to neutralise the pH, and to make it smell nice and fresh. Okay, so that's what goes in the machine. Let's connect it up to a wand. So I'll just feed the hose round. I'll show you a twin jet stainless steel wand, which is most likely to be the wand you're having with your machine. And we're going to work, Alana, just over here. So we'll turn that like that. There we go. I'll just go and get my wand. Sorry for wandering off camera there. This is a 2-jet stainless steel wand, and obviously it has 2 jets. That's where your water sprays out when you squeeze the trigger, which I'll show you in a moment, and that's the vacuum slot. That's always sucking air back into the machine and used to recover the soilage. So that bit goes in contact with the carpet, like so, and this bit is a bit that allows you to spray out the water when you squeeze that trigger. That's your male connector for connecting the water. And that's a grab handle. That's called an adjustable grab handle, this bit here. And it's used to hold, not really to push too much, but you can put a little bit of pushing on it if you need to. But it just allows you to sort of have more control over the wand, I suppose. Now, the best working angle for this wand is when it is level. This part here is parallel and level with the floor. So you kind of don't want it down here and you don't want it right up here. Can you see all right? Do you need the lights on?
No.
Oh, good. Cool. So, yeah, this kind of working angle with this level to the floor. And what you'll do, you'll hear that the wand can come under, it comes under load. It doesn't allow any air to escape, really, which is good. You want to make sure your wand seals nicely on a floor. And basically you'll hear that the vacuums are not under load when it's up here and down here. So when you're working, instead of doing this sort of thing, which I'm exaggerating, people sometimes do, you want to keep it so that it's that kind of height and angle. Good wand technique is paramount to getting your carpets clean because it will allow you to extract more dirt and more water. And you kind of want to work in 1 metre strips with the trigger squeezed, slight agitation, then you release the trigger and you do a couple of dry passes over that area that you've done so that you're not allowing the water to penetrate the backing of the carpet, because that's when you can experience problems. With a decent machine and good wand technique, you won't have any problems, but if you were to over wet the backing of a carpet and it was to be made of fibres which are affected by that over wetting, it can contract or it can expand. Normally contract, which is called shrinkage. So to avoid shrinkage, you want to make sure that you don't over wet, and if you're using the wand technique that I'm showing you, then you won't over wet, so you won't have any problems. There are other exceptions to what I'm talking about here, but this is a general thing for the purposes of this video. So, okay, so let's connect up your wand. That's a female connector. Pull back the outer sleeve and connect it to the male connector on the wand. Okay. And this is a hose cuff, 1.5 inch thread, because we're using 1.5 inch hose on this particular video, and 1.5 inch slip, which has a swivel to it, which is rather nice when you're working with a hand tool, because it allows the hand tool to spin a bit. So we're fitting those at the moment onto our hoses normally. You can have a fixed one if you specify, but I would always go for this one. Okay, and it just pushes on here like so. It's a parallel, so it slides easily on. And that's your wand connected up. And yeah, there's another thing which is quite cool, which I've got one here. This is called a wand glide, which allows the wand to glide more easily over the carpet. Stainless steel, this part here, made of 306 or 316, I think, stainless steel, glides easily over the carpet. But this is a Teflon wand glide, and Teflon just slips and slides everywhere. We use them for our furniture sliders. Alana, that's a furniture slider there, also made of Teflon, I believe. I hope it's made of Teflon. I'm not really sure what it's made of, but it's made of a very slidey material, which is similar to Teflon if it's not Teflon. But those go underneath your furniture. We sell these as well. They go underneath furniture legs, so you put them underneath the legs of your sofa, and it allows one person to easily slide the sofa out if you need to move sofas around when you're cleaning, so they're quite good. Not very expensive, come in a pack of 8. I'm avoiding quoting prices because basically it makes the video go out of date, but you'll find them on our website and we'll embed some links. This is a Teflon wand glide, and it just clips on basically. There's another video on it, but essentially you've got these bits here, these cutouts, they allow for this area here. So you just make sure it goes on like so at about 45-degree angle and push it on. There we go, it clips on, centralise it. There we go. All right, that's my Teflon wand glide put on. When you put a wand down as well, avoid doing this. Don't do that, because you will basically, this is a, sorry, did you get that?
No.
Okay, sorry. So don't put it down like this, because you will make a leak here where that swage joins the hose. Okay, now that's a 3000 psi Goodyear Neptune Continental hose, a very high quality hose, but it's no good if you're dropping it down, because you're going to bend it there and make it fail. So when you put a wand down, if you put it down this way, like this, you will prevent making a hole in your water hose here. So always put a wand down like this, okay? So now we've dry vacuumed, we've pre-sprayed, and we've agitated. We're now going to rinse extract that soilage away, and I'm going to show you that over here. So I'm going to switch the machine on. Remember, we turn vacuum motor number 2 on first, and then number 1, and then I'll turn the pump on. So that's number 2, that's number 1. And that's the water pump. And remember, we've got a silencer on, which is why it's so quiet. If I take that off, just to remind you. Yeah, this really brings the noise level down when you're working in people's homes, or you're working in nursing homes or offices, or you just want to protect your own hearing. And this wand glide really allows it to slip and slide nicely over the carpet, so it's one hand use. And we're using 400 psi. So easy to use with this wand glide, it's like cheating. Always do that 1 metre with a couple of dry passes, just to slow it down and show you. Squeeze the trigger, go to there, release the trigger and pull back so you get that last bit. And then, yeah, sure. Squeeze the trigger, go back, do about 1 metre, release the trigger and pick that last bit up, and then go and pick up your overspray with the 2 dry passes. I work from left to right, so I always pick up the left side of overspray and work towards the right. That's because I'm left-handed, so there we go. Everything up. Okay, so that's how to use your wand. Just one more time, squeeze the trigger, do about 1 metre or so, release the trigger, and then do a couple of dry passes before moving across to the next bit. Okay, there we go. Are you impressed, Alana? She's smiling. Let's get this bit of water up, this dripped out of my hose earlier. Okay. I hate dirty carpet. There we go, and that's how you put your wand down. All right, so now we've dry vacuumed, pre-sprayed, agitated, rinsed, extract away the soilage and got as much moisture out of the carpet as possible. I'll switch the machine off, so if you come back to the machine, Alana, spin the light, there we go. Turn off vacuum motor number 1 first, then number 2, and turn off the pump. Doesn't matter if the pump goes off before the vacs really. What we need to do now is get the carpet dry. So you always want to ventilate the area that you're working in as much as possible really. So we're now shooting this in November, so it's a little bit cold outside, so people are not going to want patio doors open and stuff like that, sliding doors. I would open a window, they've probably got the heating on, and tell them not to shut the window until the carpet is dry. It shouldn't take more than a few hours maximum with an enforcer, maximum 2 hours for your carpet to dry with correct wand technique. But you can use an air mover, and an air mover cuts your drying time by about 90%. So it means that you can offer your customers a service where carpets or upholstery are dry when you leave. And that's a good thing. And it's a good thing because, one, your customer wants it dry when you leave, because maybe their kids are coming back from school, or they want to go in and watch television or whatever. They don't want to be shut out of their room. So it's a great thing to have an air mover of some description for that reason. But also, from your point of view, it's great because when things are dry, you basically can ensure that you are not going to have anything unexpected happen. So you're not going to have colour run happening. You're not going to have, and remember this is with good wand technique and a dry carpet, you're not going to have browning, and you're not going to have any musty odours that weren't there when you left because it's completely dry. So an air mover is a great thing to have. So let's have a look at the air mover. It's over here. It's kind of your insurance policy that you're not going to have an issue. That's a water claw. Let's put that to one side. But an air mover is 3-speed normally. This one's 1.5 horsepower, so it's very powerful. A lot of air movers are like 3/4 horsepower and stuff like that. So it's got a kickstand, so you can angle it up to work on upholstery, easily folded down if you're using it on carpet. 3-speed switchable. That's half, that's 1, and that's 1.5 horsepower. Yeah, they're quite well priced, and they go on for a hell of a long time as well, heck of a long time rather, without any issues. So as long as you don't throw them around, and this is true with any air mover because they've got a big fan in them, you know, as long as you're reasonably careful with them, they'll go on for many, many years without any issue and allow you to offer your customers that, you know, a service where things are dry when you leave, which is always nice. So that's an air mover. So we want to make sure that we dry vacuum, we pre-spray, we rinse, extract, and then we dry things as quickly as possible. I've actually kind of missed out a stage, so backtrack a bit, because we do want to make sure we apply our finishing products. And finishing products are things that I mentioned earlier that will fix the colour, neutralise the pH, so return it to around 7, because in nature things want to be in balance, and so to avoid things like browning and avoid colour run, you want to make sure that you return them to that pH at about 7. And to do that, we use an acidic finishing spray, something like this, Supreme Finish. Okay, yeah, it's known as an acid finishing spray. Don't trip over, Alana. There's hoses everywhere. Don't fall over, Alana. Okay. It has a pH which is probably around 3, I believe. Let me just have a look. Yeah, 3.5. So it's quite acidic, not dangerous, but you know, an acidic spray that basically has the ability to make the colours bite and bind, so you don't get colour run. It will return the alkaline pre-spray that you've extracted. It will return the carpet around to pH 7, which is where it wants to be. And yeah, stop browning. So that is your almost another thing that is an insurance policy to make sure that you don't get any of those issues happening and that you end up with a carpet that's nice and bright and colour fast. So all you do, you put that in something like this, a mercury sprayer. These are very good. They spray on the in and the out. So they put down a nice puff over everything that you're, do a light mist like that over everything that you've cleaned with Supreme Finish. And that's a great way to apply it. That's a 1 litre mercury sprayer. Now, another thing that you want to put down is something that makes it smell nice, but also has a bactericide built in. This is extra fresh. It has a high degree of bactericide, so it kills all the fungal spores and things that cause those musty odours, but it also has a fresh linen fragrance as well. So if you're going for if you're going for a deodorizer, I would always select one that has a bactericide in. And a few people do them. It's not just us. We sell other products like Cleansan by Prochem. It has that bactericide in, and it's important really, a bit like selecting an antiperspirant deodorant over just a deodorant. One's going to stop you sweating and reduce odour, and that's exactly what this sort of thing does. It has a 2-part thing going on where it's attacking the things that causes the musty odours, but also masks them. I would avoid deodorisers personally that just mask, because they're not really going to give you what you want long term. So if you put those products on and then you use something like the carpet pile brush that we saw earlier, just to groom the pile and get rid of all the tool marks, that's what you want to be doing really, so the carpet is left clean and fresh, all the tool marks removed, and then you blow it dry. okay, and with an air mover, or you open windows, leave heating on, or on a sunny day you allow ventilation through by leaving doors open, patio doors open, things like that to allow ventilation. You've always got to have somewhere for that moisture to go, so be aware even in the winter that you always leave a window open to allow the moisture to escape. Basically, it can't just go up, or it will just go up in the room and into the furnishings and make everything smell damp. Don't laugh, Alana, and please stop yawning. Okay, so moving back to the machine, it's going to fill with dirty water. And yeah, here we go. All your dirty water is returned into the recovery tank, as I mentioned earlier. Okay, that fills up. And then I showed you it earlier, you've got your float cage there, there's a float ball, the water level rises, the float ball floats up, mechanically blocks off your vacuum, gets sucked up, mechanically blocks off your vacuum, so they go high pitched, and it sounds different, and you've got no vacuum, so it's a giveaway. Switch off your vacuums and empty into your designated dirty water bucket. When you finish the job, you want to get rid of the water that is in your solution tank, okay? And we do that using a pump out hose, and a pump out hose is over here. Here we go, this is a pump out hose. Open end one end, male connect to the other. Disconnect your water hose, connect, come up Alana. Put the end, open end into your recovery tank. Put the weight of the lid on it as well, there we go, and push that into there. And what we're going to do, we're literally going to pump the water from our clean tank into our dirty, and we do that by turning the water pump on, which unfortunately for you, Alana, is around here. Here we go. Switch it on. Switch off our heater. It's up to temperature. It's protected via that low level cutoff anyway, but we're pumping the water now from our clean tank into our dirty and emptying it out. It's all coming out here. And I'm going to use this without the vacuum motors running, so that's double underlined. Without those vacuum motors running, I'm going to rinse off that cage and give that a bit of a rinse round as well, because in real life that's going to be covered in all kinds of muck and gunk. Okay, but get that cage nice and clean, but we do that without the vacuum motors running, because we do not want to suck water into our vacuum motors, all right? And now we're going to let that pump out, and I'm going to empty it into a dirty water bucket. So I'll get my designated dirty water bucket. Now, one thing I haven't mentioned is I'm standing the machine on a mat, an entrance mat, which we also sell because they're great for protecting the customer's hard floor or carpet from drips and spills that will come off your machine. And you can't help this from happening. When you fill the machine up, you're going to get a drip. When you empty it out, you're going to get a couple of drips coming out of here. So you always want to form a physical barrier between your equipment and the customer's property. And I do see it often where people aren't doing that, and they need to do that really. It's important. So let's go and get the dirty water bucket, and we'll empty out the water that we've been pumping from our clean tank and the dirty water that's in the recovery tank. So I'm getting my bucket. Now, it is not the same red bucket I was using earlier. That's over there. Normally these buckets are colour coded. I'd use a white one to fill and a red one to empty. There we go. But at the moment, there's like a worldwide shortage of white versions of this bucket, because at the time of shooting this video, we're in the middle of a COVID lockdown number 2, and the people that get hold of the buckets, they come from Europe, are having trouble getting them. So yeah, normally I would have red one for emptying, white one for filling, just so they're colour coded and easy for you or your staff to remember. That's how you empty the machine. Eventually this will start to dry run. So that you can see here, it's starting to spit out just air, and the amount of water coming out will stop in a minute. When that happens, we're going to switch off the water pump, because we don't want it to dry run. We don't want to leave it dry running, just pumping air. So there we go. See, that's finished. Near enough. We're now going to switch off our water pump, like so. Okay. Now we're left with a residual bit of, oh, blimey, hey, hit the gimbal there. Yeah, that's your tank. You've got a little bit of water left in there, which is not a problem. You'll never get that little bit of water out by leaning the machine up and tilt and rolling it into your vehicle. That's never going to happen. So you don't need to worry about it, just leave it in there. And yeah, just this tank now is ready to empty. So I won't do that all on camera because it'll be fairly boring. There we go. Once you've finished, disconnect your pump out hose. And one of the most important things I would like you to do is run both vacuum motors with the recovery tank lid open. Okay, so we turn on number 1 and then number 2. And the reason we do that is because we want fresh, cold, dry air coming in through there, going through that cage, which is there, and being blown out the back of the machine, so that we're drying out our vacuum motors before we pack them away. And we want to do that for about 3 minutes, so that they're completely dry when we pack them away. We do that at the end of every job, okay? And the machine is then ready for you to disconnect the electrical power and wind the leads up, and I may as well show you how to do that as well. So we're going to disconnect our silencer, like so. Put this over here. Switch off our green main switch, and I should say all the time that the machine is plugged in, you want that switch to be on, because that's making those cooling fan run, which is keeping your electronic components nice and cool and dry. I'm going to switch it off now. And also never switch the machine on and off, never have all these in the on position and switch everything off on that switch, because you're throwing a lot of power on and off on that switch. Switch them all on individually, leave that running all the time, because that's got your cooling fans on it, okay? So switch them on and off individually, leaving that on, and only switch it off at the end of the job. So we'll switch it off now because we've finished. We'll disconnect our plugs, turn them off, carefully disconnect them because we want to ensure the integrity of these prongs and rip them out of the wall. Now the bottom power lead goes to the bottom cable wind, so I'm going to do that for you. These are all tangled up, so let's just try and style this out. There we go. I'm loosely winding this, but neatly winding it round in an anti-clockwise manner. It's all right. Oh no, I've got it. There we go. I say I've got it, and by I've got it, I mean I actually haven't got it. Here we go. Some people do this for a living, can you believe it? There we go. Right. Neatly wind that anti-clockwise. So bottom to the bottom, anti-clockwise, neatly wound, not too tight. And what you've got are plug docking points built into the machine, so that your plug actually docks into the body, so that when you roll it into the vehicle, you're not going to end up mashing your plug, basically, which will stop you doing your work on your next job. So look, that plugs in there like so. Okay, that went rather well, but if it didn't, I could always play around with this in the manner I'm doing here. You can sort of loosen it, go that way or whatever, just to give yourself a little bit more play or tighten it up. And you always want to make sure they're on the inside of those roller bars, because when you tilt and roll the machine in, it obviously works on those. Okay, so here, that goes behind the roller. And again, top one here to the top, top one here to the top roller bar here. Okay, again, anti-clockwise, fairly loose, not too tight, but nice and neat. It's always good to protect the integrity of your power leads. I know it's hard when you're knackered and you just want to throw the machine in the back of the van, but if you damage your power lead, that stops you working. Okay, there we go. There we go. Now this also has a plug docking point. Here we are, like that. So look, you can see I'm a little bit short of it. Can you see that? What I'm going to do, I'm just going to tighten that, just adjust it like that. I just move that round like that, and then it goes in and plugs in. There we go. And I'm just going to go back that way. And you can see if we turn it round, the power leads are nicely wound up and yeah, docked correctly in the machine. So I can safely, just come back a bit, what I would do is flap this protective mat over the bumper of my vehicle. Say you're inside the back of my van. Don't get too scared. We would flap this over the bumper. I'd offer this up to the back of the vehicle and I would tilt and roll it in like that. It pivots on this point here. Remember, it's full of water as well at the moment in this tank. pivots here that catches on my bumper. And if I look around here, I've got a place for me to hold it, placed there like that. Double hand grip there as well, so I can get it in. And then I've actually got another hand grip at the back here. So I end up being able to grab that like that and just push it in. Just reverse that to bring it out. So yeah, it's a heavier machine than some of our other ones, but it's easy to tilt and roll in a vehicle, and the performance that you get is epic. So that is the Enforcer. To recap, fill with a nice clean bucket. Very minimal high quality liquid detergent in any machine with a metal headed pump. You want to put everything down as a pre-spray, rinse extract it away with the machine, and put everything down. Looking out there.
People walking past.
Oh, were there? Yeah, so you put everything down as a pre-spray, use the machine to rinse extract, and then put down your finishing sprays. Always use the pump out hose to empty and pump the water from the clean tank into the dirty. Gives you the opportunity to give it a nice rinse so it's hygienic for the next person, and it also gives you a chance to rinse that cage. And when you rinse that cage, and when you're emptying out with the pump out hose, ensure that you don't have your vacuum motors running, because we do not want to suck water into your vacuums. At the end of the job, do you want to move back for this one? Flip the lid open. On any machine, this is any machine to be honest, take the recovery tank lid off, the dirty water tank lid off, or open it, turn on your vacuums and run it for 3 minutes, because that dries out your vacuum motors and doubles the life of them. Trust me, it doubles the life of them. And then another thing to point out, especially this time of year, as I said, we're in November at the moment, don't let your equipment freeze. And by that, I mean just don't let it freeze. So if you have to take it indoors, you have to put it somewhere where the van is not going to get frost on it, you need to, to do that. Otherwise, you can get things cracking, and I'm looking around for a wand. Let's move back over to the wand actually, and I'll show you what happens with wands. For example, and any experienced carpet cleaners will know this, that they normally split up the seam of that Kingston valve there, or this nut will actually shear off. So the force of water is quite tremendous really when it freezes. And it doesn't really have to be at 0 degrees to freeze. I'm not into physics too much, but yeah, it's just got to have, certainly if it's frosty on the vehicle window, you've probably got a problem if you've left stuff in there, or you could be lucky. So there is that element to it as well. And also these connectors here, they tend to fracture with a hairline fracture along there. Now you roll that out to the brass fittings in the machine, or maybe even the pump head, and you've got problems. So don't let things freeze, especially this time of year. So that's how to use the Ashbys 400 PSI Enforcer with a built-in tank heater. If you have any questions, get in contact by phone or drop a comment in the comment section below. And if you like the video, hit the like button. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. All the items are available on our website.